Hello. Hope everyone's having a great day or wherever you're watching the video. I know it's not my normally scheduled time, but I figured I would mix things up a little bit. I did some work on the project last night or yesterday to kind of clean it up, and kind of wanted to walk through some of that so that we don't get sidetracked on Monday or Tuesday with it. So let's kind of go through some of that. So we left off with the code working and able to get to the API. It was a rough patch. It took a bit of work to get there, but we eventually got it. So what we're going to kind of do today is see some of the cleanup I did. Remember, if we looked at the repo yesterday or from Sunday, we had a controller that looked something like this, except for all the highlights and stuff. But we kind of did everything all within this one component. It gets kind of messy after a while. Especially with a lot of copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. So I created what's called a service. We follow the service pattern for it and built out a new service called the contact service. So let's go take a look at the contact service. You're probably saying, great, another place where I have to make modifications. Yes and no. Right now, we can copy and paste this lines 15, 16 different times, one for each method. Follow the pattern allows us to easily use it wherever we want. So let's take a look at it. Minimize that a little bit. So here, service takes 3 objects that we are going to inject into it. HTTP client, the token acquisition, and settings. The HTTP client is to be able to do the gets, the post, and the deletes from our service. The token acquisition is the Microsoft Identity Web functionality that allows us to be able to get a new token to access the Azure, or at least authenticate with it. And then the settings just has some stuff in there. So let's take a quick look at the settings. I alluded to it a little bit on the last stream, but essentially what I did is edit 2 URLs. What I found out, well, this we want in a configuration file anyway, because as we're building out the application and we start pushing it to prod, this URL is going to change to some real production thing. So put that in configuration file so you can change it. This API scope URL, you remember when we were setting up all the scopes, this was a long identifier at the very beginning. We need to prepend that to all of our scopes that we save to make it so that we can access it. So I put these in a settings file, and then inside of our service, we access them. So let's take a look at our get contacts method. Now, I don't need these breakpoints right now. It's only 3 methods right now, or 3 calls. We say set the request header that we want the list permission. Then we build out the URL. Here we take that settings and get the root for it. And then contacts is our endpoint. And then we execute a get, and we want the get to come back with a list of models contact. If we look at the get contact, not the plural version of S, we look here and see that it's pretty much the same code. The only difference is we have the contact ID here, and we are only returning a domain.models.contact. So let's take a look at what that looks like. You can see there's a lot of those three. Everywhere where we do three lines, it's just a basic get. So I wrapped up, and I'm gonna stop here because I don't want you to see what's below. Actually, let's scroll up. It's okay. We'll just collapse that one for now. So the execute get. Oh, actually, no, we should see this one because this was the first one. So remember when we built the authentication, we had to give it a scope that we want. So here we're using the settings and get the scope root and whatever the scope that's passed in. In our particular case, we have that list of constants like contact.view, contact.list, etc. We then get the access token from the Microsoft Identity Web Library and says, give me an access token for this fully specified path. So it's going to look something like API : / that very long number / contact.list or read or whatever we put in there. And then this is just for testing, which I can probably get out of there. So let's just get rid of that. Oops. And then we add to the headers the authorization saying we want a bearer token. And this is the token that we are going to use. And then what we want to accept. So we looked at our previous example that we had up. This was like 3-4 lines of code right there. So now I extracted it into a method so that all we have to do is call in the beginning to say, get our headers ready with whatever permission we want. And then the execute get. So this one returns a task of type T, meaning whatever object you want in, I'm going to return back to you. And that's what this does. And all it really needs is the URL. So if we look at over here, the get contacts, this is the URL. So if we look at this case, we're saying go to localhost 5001 / contact / whatever ID / addresses. So we go make that asynchronous call out. If the status doesn't equal okay, that means an exception happened, throw an error. If it does work fine, meaning we got a okay back from the HTTP status, we go through and read all the bytes that came back in. And this was a little bit we had to add in because if you remember from yesterday, Thursday, or last time, or if you're watching this video, we had to put case insensitive because the JSON comes back in Pascal case, but we have our models defined in camel case. There's a way we can fix that without doing it here, but I chose to not do that. And then we deserialize it into whatever type we want. We really should probably wrap this whole thing in a try catch, but I opted not to for now. We can do some further cleanup as we play around with it. And then we return the results. I, in theory, could do a return right here and not do var results equals, but for testing, it's easy to breakpoint here and see the results. So now if we look at our controller method, the get method that was 15 or 16 lines now just says, get me a service and then return the results back. So technically this again could be in here, but it's a little bit clearer this way. So how do we get the service in here? We use dependency injection like everything else. Oh, I probably don't need the settings anymore. I was playing around with something last night, trying to do the scopes and stuff. Get all. Get one. Details. We'll probably just delete all those. We don't really need them. And so let's go take a look at that. I found this little example of how you can build an extension. Where is that? Here. So this neat little interface, we were able to add a service that comes in, and we can just put like .add contact service. So if we look at the contacts or the startup, I now have a section here that says add contact service. And we actually don't need the configuration, so we'll probably take that out. But it's a lot cleaner than setting up everything else. So what else did we do? Did a little bit more cleaning up. I moved the settings up top because we need them to build out this. So if you remember the previous example, and I think I can click on here. There's a way I can click on it to see the difference. Yeah, there it goes. So if we look at the code here, it used to say API : / DC blah, 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 blah. Now I just take the API or the API scope URI and put that in the beginning of it. And then everything else was the same. I just put all the authentication up front, then what I'm adding to it. So here we're adding the contact service. I think we're going to take that out because we don't need it. Or do I need it? I don't think I need it. It's not being used here, so I don't really need it. So now my startup should be good. Depends on the configuration, but we pass that in. So now the app works. What other changes did I made? Let's take a look at the commit to see what else. Saw that, saw that, saw that. I don't think we need iSettings, but I will keep that. I did find out that we were missing one, so I added that. Startup is fine. I did add a details just to check to see if the details was working. So now if I run it, let's start the UI for it, or the API first. We should have the code, should have the API up, and now when we run the web UI, we should see everything work fine. Let's go here, set this to be my last browser, so it appears on this screen. Now if I click contacts, you see the authentication works. So I click on contacts and I got the permissions right, everything should be good. If I get an exception, I know what it is. Yep. I've never seen this exception before. Huh. This is a new one. But what I've learned with dealing with this is I need to, while we're in dev, clear the cookies and try again. Oh, connection refused. What happened? It worked yesterday. What did I do? Dun, dun, dun. Oh, did I start the actual... Oh, I didn't start the actual API. My bad. I thought I hit the start button. That's why I got a connection refuse. So now the API started. Now I should be able to go. There we go. And if we want to see the detail of it, it's details 1, but we're going to wire all that up. Now it should just show me, and if I show my index 33, which I believe is the way, yeah, there we go. So now it's working. The code's a lot cleaner than it was before. So I think it's nice. It's a lot nicer than it was. So I am going to commit all of these. Introduce the contact to the web UI. Hey, why are you not being able? Oh, I probably can't push because everything is running. Let's do a stop all. And then we'll commit. Why can't? Oh, because I have to select everything. I usually use the command line for this, which I'll switch to because I prefer that way now, and I used to not like it. Now I do. So we do git add, git commit minus m. What I call it, introduced the contact service to the web UI. Git push. And now we're there. So refresh this and that should all be gone. Cool. So now we have a newer version up there. So we have a couple different things we can do. The first is to go through and start adding some more of the UI, but this was geared towards some cleaning up. So I want to go and do some additional cleanup stuff, some things I found. So let's go and take a look at this. I think I have a to-do somewhere in here. Where's the to-do explorer? Alt 6. Yes, here it is, SQLite. We want to get this into the app Basin. So there's a couple of different ways to do this. The reason why I noticed it was because I was trying to use this on my Windows PC and realized that this path is pretty much hard-coded to my machine, the current machine I'm using now, which is a Mac, and it won't work anywhere else unless you have this fully qualified path. So let's start with creating a setting for it. We are going to need it in the API piece because the API is what is running. So let's go to dev. And then I think we can just use connection strings. Oh, wrong location. One more comma. I had a new plugin called rainbow parentheses or rainbow brackets, and it kind of color coded them so you can see where they all exist. It's kind of cool. And I got the numbering wrong because I need a string. I'm going to call it connection strings for now, but I think it's different. Now I'm just gonna, let's go here, .NET Core connection strings. There we go. That's kind of what I want to do. So connection strings, logging database. So this is what we want, except we are going to change the names. So let's go back here and call this context database. And then let's copy out this here. Control X and paste that here. So now that should be good. I think we have to do one more thing, but let's double check that. So now that we do that, we need to create the context. So we want to do this inside of our startup, and I'm just going to copy this out and go through and put that in. So let's go to startup and so configure services. I always get the two confused. So let's do it right here. So services, and this is a how are we going to do that? I forgot we dependency injected this bad boy. How are we going to do that? How are we going to do that? I think I can actually just do this configuration. I can tell the DB context that I want the configuration for it. I'm just going to do a quick search for that. Unity framework, dependency injection, and see if we find anything. Ooh, missile. Oh, shot there. Create apps gen, store it in there. I'm configuring on model creation. Startup class, get the configuration. Yeah, I got that. I want to do that. Don't want to do that. That means we have the DB context there, and we don't know about the DB context. So get DB object in controller using, yeah, it's bad practice. We're injecting that around, so we don't even know that there's a DB context. So we might just tell it that we want the configuration item to it. Let's go back here. DB context, we can tell it that we want an I configuration item. Don't want to do that in the class, duh. we want to do that here. Public contact context. And then let's create the variable private underscore contact configuration. Do read only since it's going to complain about that. Private only configuration underscore configuration underscore configuration dot configure equals configuration. This should just be underscore configuration dot get connection string and then contact database. I could probably get rid of this now. Now I just need to clean up. It should be it. I don't think I need to do anything else because we are already injecting the configuration. So let's double check with that. Are you complaining? I have to inject the configuration here. I'm not sure if I want to do that. It's going to bleed all the way up because then once we do that there, it's going to come here. It's going to want the configuration and then work its way back up. It's pretty messy. Well, let's see if that's the way to do it. A configuration. Configuration. Okay. Rename this one. And is that it? Only the console is wrong now. Okay, let's just make sure there's nothing else that's wrong. Yeah, just the console. At some point I just gotta get rid of this console. We need a configuration file for that. I remember how to get configuration in console up. .NET Core configuration console. Yeah. I can do all this. Blah. Okay. Sorry, wrong screen. So let's build a configuration. It's going to want a configuration builder. Alt enter. I need to add the JSON file here using think that's an actual NuGet package. Microsoft.extensions.configuration. Yep. Package. So let's go to my NuGet. Do Microsoft.extensions. Configuration. JSON. Don't want the preview version of that. Thank you. Doing enough previews. Now I should just be able to add that. There it goes. Path app settings. Now I can just pass the config here. Now we will need to add an app settings here. And let's copy and paste this one out. And now we should be good. All right, let's do Control-Shift-B. The key thing is not working again. Established it. Key caster. Man, it gets so red when this big screen is on. See if I minimize this, change the background. Color changes dramatically. I'm gonna do something with that big screen. Good, it built. Now let's run this and make sure that the app is still working. And that's running. Let's run you. This is the next thing we're going to fix. I have to clear the cookies every time. I don't know if it's a feature of the identity platform, but whenever I see this message, no account or login hint was passed, means the token's expired or it can't get it, requires the user input. So I'm going to delete it, refresh it, gets a new token. Invalid code. Ha. Invalid state code. What are we complaining about here? Web UI, sources, contact, execute, get, fail, line 16. Fail with the get contacts async. Database, not connection, not working. Let's see, we got that there, data source contacts. Let's check the context, make sure that's there. Let's put a breakpoint there. We're gonna stop all the apps. And then we'll, oh, I got the name wrong, I bet. It looks like contacts database. Yep. Gosh darn it. That's why hard coding stuff is terrible. Let's restart it again. API start. I think I still have the UI running, right? Nope, UI is not running. Let's start that. Now let's go back and refresh. So let's clear the cookies first. And refresh it. Yay, it's working. And then we can go to detail / 33, and that works. Cool. So now our database is configurable, or at least with SQLite, it's configurable within the command line. So let's go and commit that. And let's close out. Go to my terminal window, Control 1, git add dot. Just make sure it added the right files. Ooh, a lot of files. There are a lot of changes. Git commit -m. Move the SQLite connection string to app settings. Git push. Cool. So now the last thing I kind of wanted to fix was that annoying every time we start the app, we have to go and clear the cookies. So let's do this. And we only want to do that in debug. So .NET Core clear all cookies. We're going to blah, blah, blah is a key value. Cool. Delete. Okay, let's try this bad boy. Where are you? Startup. Make sure I'm in the right one because we got multiple startups. And we're going to add that is development environment here, which we have here. Here, cookies for better experience with Microsoft. Identity web. That is probably not going to work because I don't have access to their request. Where do I want to put that now? I only want it run the first time. And that's going to run. Other way of doing it is, let's get rid of you. Do everything so it doesn't look like I modified anything. There we go. We can do it in the web UI. In theory, you can just sign out and sign back in, but in the rear to do that. Just guess I gotta get in the habit of doing that. No files are checked out. So what do we want to do now? This cleaned it up. Let's see if there are any other to-do items. We have something in the web UI. Ooh, we have a lot of things. Oh, we actually got this nicer name, so we don't need that anymore. And other things are in Bootstrap and jQuery, so I'll ignore those right now. So this is the only one we have. I think that's really all we have to do. Okie dokie. I think that'll be it for now. Thanks for joining. I'll chat with you on a future stream.